right, we're back. Sort of back. We are
Good morning,
mostly
Kelly.
back.
we are kind of back in action today.
Right.
Yes.
Where are we going from here? Yeah, Sarah said,
went
what are
to
we
the
going to
Olympics?
We went to the Olympics. She was like,
to
what
the Olympics.
are we going to talk about today? And I was like, well, we went to cycling yesterday. And I was like, was that just yesterday?
I know. There's been a lot going on just in general.
It is I think you can start to hear the fatigue. I feel like we all know people who are showing up the second week for like second week Olympics.
Yeah.
And they're all like bright-eyed and excited. And you're just like, no. No. Like, let's meet for a drink. No
extra things.
No extra thing. Yeah. It's also obviously, and this is not complaining about being at the Olympics. It is like everywhere you go takes so long to get to, and there's just so many crowds. You don't want to add any additional. You're like, no, I'm using my time to go see sports.
Exactly. No, that's true. We're here in Paris. We're seeing sports. Also, like, we're not totally over our illness here,
right?
At the Feisty really house. So once we get over that hump too, we'll maybe be. But we'll have a strong ending to our Olympic journey.
So we did trek out to the cycling race. Now so the cycling race itself went out into the countryside. It wasn't as long as the men's race was like 7 hours or something.
It was like 200 kilometers. Long. Like it was wildly long.
Wildly long. Yeah. The women's race was like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, 170K.
But they came back into Paris. Both races did this 3-lap circuit of this like historic cobblestone climb in this like, it is a tourist area now, but it's like this historic neighborhood that's very like what you dream of French looking like Paris.
Yeah.
And there's like a church on the top. And so we walked out of this. We had to walk how many stairs to get out of that?
Oh my gosh.
Station.
I've never seen a subway so far underground. Like Ella joked that we were like a kilometer deep.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like as we climbed.
And you like came out and it was like huge crowds and like jugglers. And you're like I don't
circus
think this
vibes. Like there was actually like it was
really intense
merry-go-round thing.
Yeah.
The horses.
I think you call it a merry-go-round.
Carousel.
Yeah. And it was like, I don't think this is for the cycling.
Oh yeah, they were just like
no. That was just
they were just tourists.
That was just that neighborhood.
It was a very cute neighborhood.
So we did. I mean, we actually timed that not terrible because we got there about an hour before they got there. We did get a spot like on the barricade right behind the feed zone, so we were like right behind all of the team manager people with their different vests. And I have to say, everyone has kind of the same colors this year, and so I don't know how anybody finds their
person. There's a lot of countries that are blue and red.
Yeah, right? And then like some
like
and even the ones that are slightly different, like everyone's just gone with a very similar design. So how do you find your person?
I know it must be hard. They must know ahead of time roughly where they are.
Yeah.
Although like you're in the pack, you're coming through quickly. Like I was actually, I know it was only like a slight uphill. We were at the beginning of the climb.
We were.
But I was surprised how quickly they were moving at that point. Like, you think you're on a climb, you're like, they'll be a little bit slower.
Yeah, we picked the start of the climb and the cobbles because we thought like they would be slowing down. We'd be able to see some like not just one giant peloton. We'd be able to see breaks. Mm-hmm. And I think once they got a little, in the scheme of cycling climbs, it was a fairly short climb, but it was like punchy and whatever. So I do think they slowed down some further up, but where they hit us, they were like at speed, trying to grab water bottles on cobblestones. Like things were flying off of bikes.
Yeah.
It was a little intense.
Yeah. And the crowds were cool.
There was a good amount of people. Like we were able to get a spot, but only through luck,
sheer will and determination.
And luck. Yeah.
Walking up and down until Ella and I saw like a gap on the barrier, because we wanted to be standing like right next to them. We need to be in the front row. So we did get our spot in the front row.
But I think further up, there were no spots left.
There were no spots. Yeah. I think it was pretty cool to see like, again, how like the French crowds react. Like I thought it was how if anyone's ever been to a cycling race, there's like a massive entourage that comes through ahead of time, like team cars, spare bikes. Oh, it starts with garbage.
The garbage truck.
There's like people on foot actually collecting garbage, and everybody cheered for them.
Right.
Like just getting crap off the course so that the climb is safe for the riders. And then there's a garbage truck that comes through behind them.
Did you notice there was a guy so they did 3 laps, and even on the second lap, there was a guy running with his little like scooper picker upper garbage. He had to run that whole circuit uphill and then downhill. I was like, man, that is quite
intense. Yeah, there's a lot of cycling. It really does have a lot of like the entourage is wild. Yeah.
So it was good, but it was funny because like, so when we okay, you guys stayed for the whole time. I saw them come through twice. Um, and when we saw them, there were breaks starting to happen. There was like a selection happening, and you could kind of see like, okay, the medals are probably going to come from this group. But then there was like, oh, basically, it was still very much like, yay!
Yeah, it's like, and then kind of like which one is which because
Who?
it's kind
What?
of a
Yeah.
blur.
I mean, you could tell. So, like, I could tell Kristen Faulkner was up there because you could tell like there was a USA jersey, and then further back, you saw the other American because she had like a crash, so you could like kind of figure it out after, like as you if you like knew who you were looking for,
Right.
but you couldn't figure it all out. You couldn't. So then my mom was hi mom, she's listening. She wasn't texting me all this stuff about like, oh, did you see this? Did you see this? And then other people were texting me, that was like the best race, and you're like, cool,
Yeah.
because we like you don't see you don't get all those details. We were like following like the Twitter updates and the live updates.
Yeah.
But like with that many people in a crowd, the broadcast on your
yeah.
phone comes and goes, so you can't really see it.
But we did see the garbage truck and
But
cheer.
we did see the
so
garbage
it was totally worth it.
totally worth it. I will say they were. I mean, to say that they were moving faster than I expected sounds dumb
Well,
because they are
yeah.
professional cyclists.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm saying that for emphasis,
Right, but they were moving.
Like, I
they were
knew that they'd be
moving.
moving
They
like
were moving.
very quickly, but it's just like and I didn't have a sense of the climb
Right.
either, right? So I just for whatever reason thought, oh, they'd be, or
They'd
that
slow
there
down.
might be like more people using the feed zone, and it might just like
Right.
slow them down a bit more. But it was like between hill, cobbles, and feed zone, they were still
hauling.
Yes.
And I think we should take a second because Kristen Faulkner did end up winning. We did see her like when she came by us. She was still kind of in the second group. There were a lot of different kind of like who's going to make their attack stick, and she was still kind of like behind the leaders. But she then like bridged up to them, and then she attacked off that front group.
That's wild.
With like 2 miles to go, I want to say, and held them, and I mean, it's kind of like like surprising they let her do that. I mean, but then.
Yeah.
Let is always a weird word.
Yeah.
Right.
They weren't trying at all. They just let
right.
her.
At some point, I think they then started fighting for the other medals because there were 3 of them for the other 2 medals. Right. But that was like the first US gold in road cycling in like a really, really, really long time. And I think everyone knows this story, but she almost didn't get to race the road race because the American selection criteria was that the other spot on the team would go to whoever won the national time trial because Chloe Dygert had already earned the first spot. And the second spot was supposed to go to whoever won the national time trial. And that was Taylor Knibb, who beat Kristen by like 6 seconds or whatever. And then, of course, there was this whole like, well, Taylor's never raced a professional road race.
Right.
And she turned down, and I think we all knew she was going to turn down the spot, but there's a whole official process where she has to like officially turn it down. And you can't, it's complicated, but like, you can't name additional athletes to the team. Like Kristen was already on the track team too, so you can bring a track athlete over.
So in some ways, like she wasn't really supposed to. Like she
wasn't
supposed
qualify
to outright. Like it's kind of wild.
It's kind of wild, yeah. But you're like, I guess it worked out.
Like, it worked. It did work out for her and for the US. And like Taylor, if Taylor couldn't have taken that spot because she wouldn't have been able to do the team time trial.
The team relay was this morning, and she probably should not have done her first pro level road race the day before.
Or at the Olympics.
Relay at the Olympics. Yeah, I feel like I mean, she does all kinds of things that she just wants to do, but I feel like even that was
and maybe it left like Kristen with something to prove.
Probably,
I wonder if like USA Cycling will change their qualifying criteria for LA.
One would imagine.
Yeah.
It's also funny because like you were asking, I think, like how because the US only had 2 spots, whereas like I want to say the Dutch had like 4 spots, and Great Britain had 3.
It is interesting, with like because typically the dynamics of a cycling race are that you work with a group. Like if you have in a big tour, like a multi-day tour, you have
a whole team,
right? And that's like part of drafting in a cycling race, right? So like how does it work in the
so it's just like way smaller. Like I mean your team is a lot smaller because it's usually like somewhere between 2 and 4 athletes, and like it's a little weird dynamics because all of a sudden like people you ride with all season are now on a different team technically.
And then in some aspects of the race, like of a race that long, 170K, like at some points you're going to be working with people that you're ultimately working against.
Sure. But then there's also an impetus to like, whereas in the Tour de France Femmes, which is in like a week next week, and a lot of these athletes are going to be doing that. Nobody cares who gets like second or third in a stage, right? Like
Oh,
there's no
yeah.
desire. But
Yeah.
here, like the medals really matter. So like so that second group that was behind Kristen, there was a desire to work together to a degree to hold off the people behind them. But then at some point they're going to fight between each other for them because
Yeah.
second and third do really matter.
Yeah.
Whereas like in, you know, the Vuelta or something, you definitely don't. You see people more like be like, eh.
And I mean, yeah. And I think it's like a lot of things are like that in sport,
Sure.
right? Like I know like when I've trained in squads before, we have training partners. Like you're training with them and you're trying to get the best out of each other. But then ultimately at some point, like you're training against them because you're trying to make the team
Sure.
or you're trying to, you know. But I do think some of the teams that have like the countries rather that had 4 people, did you say the Netherlands had 4 people?
Yes.
Yeah, like they would have an advantage
Sure.
over a country that only has 2 riders out there.
And then, I mean, the British had 3 in that front break once the selection was made, and they ended up with no medals. And so you're like, sometimes you just
Right.
you play it right, and then you play it wrong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's kind of, which is what happened in the triathlon relay today.
Oh,
Anyway,
segue. Wait, are we
segue.
gonna run?
No, we're gonna run on some ads right now. But when we come back, I did make it to the mixed team relay this morning, and we'll talk about that.
If you're like us, you're totally inspired by Katie Ledecky and Summer McIntosh and more ready than ever to up your swim training. So let's take a minute to talk about hair and skincare for swimmers. You've probably asked yourself questions like, how can I keep my hair healthy and hydrated as a swimmer? How can I avoid my skin feeling itchy and dry after being in the pool? And how can I get rid of those pesky goggle marks around my eyes? Enter TryHard. TryHard has pre- and post-swim solutions designed to reduce the absorption of pool and ocean chemicals into your hair and skin. We love using TryHard's pre- and post-swim conditioner before and after every swim to keep our hair feeling great. TryHard also has a bunch of other products useful for swimmers, like their pre- and post-swim eye gel, which totally works for getting rid of those pesky goggle marks and puffy eye feeling, while providing hydration and a cooling effect. TryHard products are vegan, dermatologically tested, and packaged in recycled plastic. Whether you're swimming in the pool, the ocean, or maybe even the Seine, take care of your hair and skin with TryHard. Use the code FEISTYGAMES for 22% off site-wide at tryhard.co. Plus, you'll get an extra 5% off during sales on top of the already discounted price. That's Feisty Games for 22% off at tryhard.co. Historically, athletic footwear has been designed, researched, and tested for men. Brands have relied on the shrink it and pink it approach to sell male shoes to female customers. That's why we are so excited Heddas is working with us on our Paris coverage. Heddas is building high-performance, technical running shoes for women from the ground up. They operate from a purely female perspective, which we love, and their mission is to ensure the female running experience gets the funding, research, and recognition it deserves. Heddas has unlocked the science behind women's biomechanics through dedicated research and creates better shoes for women's performance. Some of Heddas' special features include a lower ankle collar to reduce rubbing on women's ankle bones, a breathable mesh toe box to allow for ventilation and accommodate female toe shape, and a supercritical foam and Pebax plate midsole to keep our legs going when the going gets tough. Heddas has 3 shoe models designed for different sessions: the Alma Cruise for long runs, the Alma Tempo for training days, and the Alma Speed for pushing the pace. Celebrate the outstanding performances at the Olympics with your own pair of Heddas. Use the code FEISTY20 for 20% off at heddas.com. That's FEISTY20 for 20% off at heddas.com.
All right. So I said I only saw 2 laps of the cycling, and you guys stayed for 3 or 4 or whatever it was, because we had to run to swimming. Because we had tickets
last day of
for
swimming.
the last day. The last day of swimming, we had tickets for like the last races, and it's only finals, like 4 finals, and swimming starts on time, man. Like, so it started at 6:30.
Oh, yeah.
Like the 50-meter final women was at 6:30.
Yeah.
And like you have to be there.
I love how they ran like clockwork. Like if we
Yeah.
that first day when we went to swimming, like we would have missed Summer McIntosh's medal if we hadn't been there on time. Like literally first out the gates,
yeah.
she's doing the 400 IM. Like on
they
time.
run a tight ship. And we actually, this is like, okay, so I've heard plenty of people be like, oh God, I've heard Paris is such a mess. It's so and I think largely for like how big it is, they're running like a pretty good operation.
Oh, I think they are.
Of course there is like some stuff that's just terrible. But we followed. They have these, those little pink arrows and signs to like how to get. So we
Yeah.
followed their recommendation in the train station.
Mhm.
That was like, take this one to get to the whatever the stadium is called. And we get on this train that was not the one I was going to get on, but we were like, we'll trust the pink arrows. And then it just like stopped for like 10
Oh.
minutes out in the. So when we got off, we were like full on sprinting like through this, I don't even know what it is, venue with dinner. Like people are out there having drinks and you're like full on running. Like,
Oh man.
and we made it by like 3 minutes. So
wow.
and so yeah, we saw the 50-meter. It was all finals. Swimming runs a tight ship. It was probably the best event I've been to so far because it's just like the ones that are like an hour and a half of just like all excitement are definitely the best, as opposed to like 6 hours of
Right.
qualifying.
Yeah.
And swimming is like a really nice venue because it is big, so it's like loud. Like when it was the French and Americans like neck and neck in the like men's medley relay, it was insane. Like I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
But it's still like
Imagine.
close enough that you can like see everybody.
Right. It's a huge stadium for swimming.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's still swimming. Like you can still like see them. It's not
Right.
like they're far away.
yeah. But for swimming, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's hard. Has there been a venue this big for swimming in the Olympics?
We were trying to figure that out because apparently Taylor Swift performed there before.
Oh yeah.
the-
we saw that. It was somehow Taylor Swift's fault that the
Right.
pool wasn't deep
Right.
enough.
Because the whole thing is like this pool has been really slow, is what all the swimmers have been complaining about. And the reason the French say that they couldn't build it deeper was because it was delayed because Taylor Swift had to perform there
in May.
in May.
I don't believe that.
I know.
No, I think that was just one of those stories that was like, it was funny. So it like
Yeah.
ran loose. But like the difference between making it, what did they make it 2.1 or 2.2 meters versus 2.5? Like you could still pre-build that and
You could, yeah.
put it in later. Or
I do
3
think
meters.
was it Tokyo or like Beijing back in 2008 when that was really fast. It was, so the minimum's like 2 meters or whatever. It was like 5 meters deep or something like that. Right. It was way deeper. Because the deeper the pool, the faster it tends to be. Also, like the more absorption there is on the sides.
Yeah,
To, like
I think
suck in the waves.
It's interesting to see how different venues like prioritize different things. Because like clearly here in Paris, they've prioritized like the visuals of like having
They have
things in
100%
iconic
prioritized
places.
visuals. They have not prioritized concessions. You cannot buy like a beer anywhere in the vicinity.
And you especially can't if you don't have a Visa card.
Oh yeah, you can't buy anything with MasterCard, as Sarah learned. You cannot buy concessions largely at any of the events. It's very bizarre. They are not like, you can't, which is weird because in like the US, I feel like sporting events are really just an excuse to sell you food.
To
and
sell
drinks.
you stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but it was really, really cool. And so after everyone's been complaining about the slow pool, we saw 2 world records last night.
Wow.
And
really?
and the Americans have not been winning golds in the pool. Saw 2 American gold medals. Clearly, I just need to go to swimming.
You're the good luck charm for swimming.
Steve
I'm
actually
a good luck charm for Canada.
There you go.
So
There you
we're
go.
together. We're good. Yeah.
But the very last race, the very last day of swimming, was the 4x100 medley, women's medley. They like spaced it out because the people who went 50 free at the beginning, a lot of them were doubling up in the medley relay at the end. Right. So they put the men's 1500 and men's relay in between. And so then the medley relay, it was crazy. The US usually wins the medley relay. They lost the men's for the first time in like 20 years or something. And then the women, the first person swam a new Olympic record in the backstroke, like on the leg. Then there was and it's official because it's the first leg. And then there was like an unofficial record in the butterfly, but it doesn't count because of the
the relay thing.
And so it was nuts. It was, everyone basically swam really, really fast, and they set a new world record. And yeah, the crowds, I took a little clip of the crowds going crazy and hearing the national anthem.
Mesdames et messieurs, les médaillés olympiques. Ladies and gentlemen, the Olympic.
So I actually haven't heard the U.S. anthem yet. Out of all of our events we've been to.
What? That's so funny. Like I've heard the Canadian anthem like 3 times.
Yeah, because the U.S. is not
That's
like winning a lot of
wild.
gold medals.
Well, you are still winning a lot of things, though. You know, you're winning still more than Canada. So like on your chances of being there at a medal are still
high.
greater than mine. But yet, I've managed to see
There you
3.
go.
Wow, Kelly.
And it wasn't until Ryan Krause won shot put and Noah Lyles won the 100 that there was a male individual who won a gold medal for the U.S. It had been all
Which is only yesterday.
yeah, and so it had only been women winning gold medals in the individual events.
Wow.
Yeah, the women are really carrying this Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So that was hands down probably like the best overall experience. I do also just really enjoy these like hour and a half, 2.5 hour get it done. And then this morning, you guys were still sick and had to sleep in.
we had a little.
We had some issues.
Yeah.
So I got up and went to the mixed team relay, and conversely,
we're glad for. Can I just say
went?
Thanks for like. We're like heading out there for the team, you know. Just like we'll send Kelly in.
We'll send Kelly.
Yeah.
And it was also, I think, again, like when you talk about the race itself, everyone's saying again, it was like one of the most exciting races we've seen this Olympics. It was really, really dramatic. The experience on the ground was probably my least favorite of everything I've gone to yet.
Oh, man.
Like it was terrible.
Yeah, feeling sick. I'm like kind of glad I was.
Oh yeah, you should not have gone.
Another crowd of people against a barrier. Like,
yeah, it was a lot. I mean, it was like the triathlon itself, the individual races were totally fine, even though they were very, very, very crowded. The problem with the mixed relay was logistically they condensed the whole course down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the run itself was a 900-meter square.
Okay.
And there was only 3 sides of that square that overlapped with the bike. So obviously everyone wants to be kind of on those sides.
Oh, on those 3 sides, yeah.
And then on that whole square, the inside of the square was completely closed. Like nobody could, right? Like only official people.
Of course, because the bike's lapping around it.
Well, I don't even know. I mean, you could have just gone in, like obviously on the individual race, like you could go on either side of the road where we were standing, but in this little loop, they just like you couldn't get to the other side of the road because I don't know, barricades. Like and so then you're like, okay, you're only in this side, and then one whole side was grandstands, one whole side was like like where I thought we were gonna stand. Like when I texted you last night, because we text each other from our rooms next to each other, and I was like, hey, this is where I want to go. You couldn't get there. Like, because there was a barricade like 3 blocks before that where they were like, oh, no. Honestly, if I had like waived some random credential, which is what Steve did.
Right.
And got through that section. Yeah.
Yes, we've witnessed this happening before.
Because there were clearly people kind of standing on that like area, but you needed to get through like the first of 7 barricades. So then that means that everyone who's come out to watch the French win is crammed into like what had to amount to 450 meters along the side of the road.
Right. So did you get anywhere near the front of like how close or how many people deep were you?
I was only like one person deep because when we walked, so we got there early and like we probably should have just gone straight to try and find a spot. But I thought we were going to go to this one road and then we got blocked and then we had to go around. So by the time you like that, and then you're like, oh, this isn't that crowded yet because we're still like an hour early. So you're like, oh, this is fine. I can see it. I'll stand here. And then the problem was all of a sudden like people coming behind you, people fill it, like you're leaving some space so that you don't like like there are people, there was a New Zealand, like a family I think related to Hayden Wild was right in front of me, so I didn't want to push through them even though they totally would have let me because there's plenty of room. But then everyone starts filling in the gaps I've left and like cramming into you, and then and I'm not big, and so then all of a sudden I'm surrounded by like 8-foot men and I'm getting elbowed in the face the whole time because they're trying to watch on their phone. And I have to say, like, in addition to I just am not a big fan of a random police state, there's also something about personal space. Like I'm very like, why are you leaning on me? When they haven't even started the race yet. So that was,
I can see that.
It was rough. It was definitely a little intense.
Right.
So I did. So it was not it was like the most chaotic experience I've been to yet. Way more even than the road cycling, just because of the space. But the race itself was crazy. I don't know if you guys were able to see any of that on the
I saw
TV.
A picture of the photo finish.
So
there was that. Yeah. So between, who did we have in there? The US,
Germany, and Britain. So obviously the French were the favorite. Everyone was like, there's no way they can lose unless they like crash. And they crashed.
What? They crashed?
On the first leg, like on the U-turn as you go, there's like a U-turn right before you went into the transition.
Yeah.
And Hayden Wild and I guess it was Pierre Lecour just slid out on that. I guess Hayden slid into him.
Yeah.
So there's some French fans who definitely have strong feelings about that right now.
Yeah, but that can happen. Like that's part of the game.
It's part of the game. And the problem in such a short thing is that even though they were back on their bike super fast, you're 20, 30 seconds back and you're like, and then you're not, the next person's not in the group. And then they have to like, so then Emma Lombardi is like time trialing off the back on the next leg. And they worked their way all the way up to fourth. Like they were
Wow.
like gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a testament to how good they are and how much they were the favorites.
Yeah.
And the crowd, and I did appreciate the crowd around me wasn't like, they understood like how impressive it was. They fought back. Like the woman behind me when Cassandra Beaugrand ran her way all the way back up to fourth, and everyone had like fought their way back up slowly.
Yeah. And she was the gold medalist.
And she was the gold medalist. Yeah. And so the woman next to me just kept going, incredible.
Yeah. And she was correct.
Right.
It was a correct assessment.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was impressive. But that's why they weren't in the front three. But what ended up happening in the front three, and I have to say, I talked to the USAT high performance director a couple days ago, and he told me like kind of not like what their plan was, but this is what we're going to do.
The tactics were.
Yeah. And I was maybe like a little scared. Like to you, I was telling you about them, and I was like, I don't know, this is like played out exactly how they were hoping it played out. So like kudos to them for it working.
Okay, so that's interesting. So tell us a bit about that. So like I know in the mixed team, really, like it's just for anyone who doesn't necessarily know, like it's everybody does a mini swim bike run, right? But you can draft off each other,
right?
So everyone starts out together, so they're like swimming together for that first short swim, and presumably biking together. And then does it start to like?
So it starts to break up because then it's like. So everyone's kind of together on that first leg, but then if you kind of like, if splits start to happen on the run, like your first runner's not as fast, when they hand off to the next person, those splits will probably get a little bit bigger because then if people are close together, they'll bike together and then they'll stay in that group. But then the people behind them might fall even further behind because they're by themselves. So there's definitely, I don't want to say like strategy because it's like pretty straightforward, but there's definitely like, it can break up weirdly because you need to be.
Or you could have like a strong cyclist even coming from behind you.
Exactly.
That you can jump on their wheel. Like there's like stuff that can happen in there that doesn't happen in a regular triathlon.
Right. And they're all super fast. Like all the splits were like 20, 22 minutes, like depending on the men or the women. And so what ended up happening was that, so it was breaking up and whatever. And the Americans, kudos to them, like the first two stayed in it enough to like, and the group kind of came together of the women. There were 7 or 8 people on the second leg, and then on the third leg it did break up a little more where there's like 4 or 5, and the British were off the front, and it was like seemed like they were gonna win. And you put our Taylor Knibb on that last leg.
On the
and as we've established, she's the best time trialist in the US. And so there was these like little groups, and they were back in like 4th or 5th, and she like time trialed up. Now as she was doing it, time trialing her way up to the British in first, she was dragging the German team with her. And I was saying, Steve was not standing by me because, he waived his credential. And I was texting him like, this German is the best sprinter in the field. She is dragging the best sprinter in the field up to the front of the field. And so then the 3 of them head on the run. And yes, like, she is the German, Laura Lindemann is like just a really, really good sprinter. And so it came, I mean, Beth Potter, the British girl, Taylor Knibb, the American, like tried to go for it, but it came down to like all of them full out sprinting. And
so did you see that?
No, of course I didn't see that. I was like,
even on such a short, I just thought maybe with a short loop course, you might see like the beginning of the sprint.
Oh yeah, of course
something.
I saw the start. I saw them all together. I saw them like trying to get away from Laura. Make like when they went by me, Taylor had pulled like maybe 2 feet ahead. You know what I mean? Like they were definitely trying.
There were, like, tactics.
They're like trying. Beth looked like she doesn't have the pop because she's usually a very fast runner. So I definitely saw them. But no, I didn't see that. There was like 27 barricades between me and that finish. They put barricades up behind me after I was standing there. I had to go back through barricades.
I just thought you probably saw some of the strategizing.
So it was a full-on sprint. As kind of predicted, Germany got a step ahead. And then they had to go to a photo finish for gold or silver and bronze. And at first they gave the US bronze, and then they changed it after they went to the photo. And they gave the US silver.
Whoa. So then
Yeah.
the British
Got
got
bronze.
bronze. Oh my gosh.
So that's very dramatic. That's what I'm saying. Like people
Ooh.
were like, it was probably one of the better races we've seen. It was very exciting.
Right.
But
Oh man, I can remember is it 2012, waiting for the result of the photo finish with Lisa Norden and Nicholas
Okay.
Spierig. Oh my, it felt like forever because that went to a photo finish, as you remember, for like gold and silver in like the individual triathlon. Oh man, that was
I actually I just saw a picture of the side view and I don't know. Like I don't know what I would call it. It's like pretty
Right.
close.
Right.
So it is I mean, I guess
Wow.
we've been at track a bunch and a lot of things keep ending in photo finish, but those move quickly. They
Yeah,
decide
they're
within
like, and they're
10 seconds.
expecting a photo
Yeah.
finish, and
Yeah.
they're used to like
used to
analyzing
it,
that.
yeah.
You know, in triathlon, we're like, what?
Whoa.
Like, it's a long race out there, you know.
But yeah, it's hard to say. Like, of course, I mean, Germany, I had them picked for third, and it was they were always like I don't want to say a favorite, but you know,
Yeah.
they had to beat the favorites to do it. So kudos to them. And then yeah, the US, like, wow, it had to play out exactly one way for them,
Right.
and they did it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good for Taylor. You know,
yeah,
I feel like she hasn't had her best races here.
No.
I don't know.
She hasn't- I
I'm
don't
not
think
like
she's
a
had,
Taylor
like,
performance expert,
the
but
Olympics she wanted,
Yeah.
but she totally
but here she did.
did
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Not like earn them that medal because everyone has to do their part, but
Yeah.
for 100%. So it was
Yeah.
very exciting.
Mhm.
And then I got very hostile and very annoyed.
Then you had to remove yourself from the crowd.
Yeah, I
of
had to
the
remove myself.
people,
Then I
like-
couldn't even get out of the crowd because I am not kidding. They erected barricades behind us
That is
as people came in because they were getting too many people.
It was to stop people coming in, but they like
But then you couldn't get
essentially you were
out.
trapped?
Oh my! And this is like,
that's wild.
and this is not like this is. I know we like Kelly and her barricades, but like this,
Yeah.
everyone. This keeps happening to everyone. We've had people tell us like is literally happening to people who are officials. It's happening to staff. There's this story going around, and I haven't looked into this yet. That the reason Shelly Ann Fraser Price pulled out of the 200 and why Sha'Carri was kind of off is because they showed up at the athlete entrance and were sent away because they didn't have the right. They were made to walk like an hour all the way around the stage.
What?
Yeah, and somebody said, and it's like I have to say, I don't know if it, but I believe it. Like
Right.
it's how
It
things
seems
are
like it
operating
could
here.
happen.
It could happen. So
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a story for you.
so anyway, but we made
Okay.
it back. I got a baguette and I had a tea.
Can you calm down?
And it's fine. I was like, I will tell you before we go to ad break that when they won't let you get out this way, and they won't let you're like, but I just want out.
Mhm.
And Steve's standing on the other side of the barricade, and I just started. I was like, I can't fucking get to that side, Steve. I don't know. They fucking put these barricades up, and I don't fucking. And I think I said fucking like 7. And this guy turns next to me, he's like, "Well, I understood that." Clearly, he hadn't understood any French anyone was saying. So,
Amazing.
yeah. All right, we will
Cool.
have we will come back with what we're still looking forward to after this.
Here at Feisty, we are dedicated to partnering with brands that are mission-driven and having an impact. That's why we are thrilled to be supported by Joni, a company creating game-changing period care for everybody. Many conventional menstrual products rely on plastic made from petroleum, a non-renewable resource. Did you know that in the US, approximately 12 billion pads and 7 billion tampons are discarded annually, and these products generate over 200,000 tons of plastic waste per year? It can take 500 to 800 years for a single petroleum-based plastic disposable pad to decompose due to its materials. And tampons with applicators also contribute to plastic waste, which can take centuries to break down. Joni is dedicated to bring the wasteful and antiquated feminine hygiene industry into the 21st century. Using a design-led approach, Joni's personal care products and commercial dispensers provide the most innovative and accessible period and leak care solutions in the world. Organic and free of harmful levels of chemicals or irritating fragrances, Joni's pads and tampons support menstrual health and the environment, while allocating at least 2% of revenues to break the cycle of period poverty, dismantle menstrual stigmas, and empower periods. Now that's what we call 21st century period care. Ditch uninspiring and irritating feminine hygiene products and say hi to Joni's silky soft, super absorbent, and toxin-free pads and tampons. Joni pads feature a wrapper and protective layer made from cornstarch, a plant-based material, making them biodegradable and compostable in the right conditions. Joni tampons are made with organic cotton. They're compostable, including the wrapper, which is made of cellulose. Choosing sustainable period products isn't just a trend, it's a movement. You can get 10% off your order with the code Feisty at getjoni.com. That's 10% off at GETJONI.com with the code Feisty.
All right. So if we continue, I have been fine. I am leaving again for Marriott. But if you continue to rally,
If I continue to feel good, this evening I'm going to go to the 3-on-3 basketball.
Okay.
There's a semifinals, I think. There's the gold medal match. So
Mm.
I'm super excited. And yeah, if I continue to feel good, another couple hours, I'm gonna
You're
go.
gonna go to
Yeah.
that. All right. And then the hope here, as you can imagine, like the reason we have not been bringing you athlete interviews is because you do not want to get athletes sick. So hopefully here, as everybody feels better, we will be going to Champions Park, which I think they reopened it today, and they bring the medalists there every day. Go to some of these fan zones and track down some athletes. And then we still have a lot of tickets. I'm going to water polo tomorrow.
Ooh.
I'm hoping to
Nice.
see Flavor Flav. Support the
I
women's water
hope
polo
that
too.
for you
Yeah.
also. Mhm.
And then of course, and I know I keep I'm still fingers crossed the US makes it to the soccer final.
Yeah, we have tickets to the women's soccer final,
Final.
which I'm excited about regardless. of
If
who
the US
plays. Well,
wins.
Canada's already out, so
I know they did.
You know.
yeah. And France. I was really hoping France would get through, and they did not. So that's
right. That would have made an exciting stadium for
exciting.
sure.
And just in my daily soccer update, so it's Brazil, US, Germany, and Spain. And Brazil, Marta is suspended for the next game. Ooh. Because there's the rule where you have yellow cards and they stack before the rain clears.
Okay.
So that happened to one of the US
Interesting.
players too. But yeah, so she's suspended,
Okay.
which is not good for Brazil. So
Okay. We'll see what happens. Women's soccer. Here we come.
all right.